What's up everybody? Welcome back to my channel. I know it's been forever and a day since I put up any kind of video. So today I'm going to be showing you how I put this nice little wig together. This actually was a wig I made for my mom maybe a couple of years ago, but she didn't but it ended up being too long for her, so she gave it back to me and I'm like, that's fine, I could work with this. But I had to basically just take the whole wig apart and do it again because it was originally a closure wig, but I didn't like that closure anymore, so I kind of cut that out and got a frontal and sewed the frontal to it. But the way that the wig is constructed for a closure is very different than the way it's constructed for a frontal, so it wasn't sitting right, it didn't look right at all. So I had to unfortunately take the whole thing apart and do it all over again from scratch. And it was heartbreaking because this was a really nice wig, but it's even better now. So also, if y'all want a video of how I laid this wig down, there's no Ghost Bond, there's no glue or anything. This is simply just got to be glue and maybe a little bit of the spray. So if you want to see how I laid this wig down, like this video and leave me some comments down below, let me know. If you want to see how I put this wig together, how it was constructed from scratch, from beginning to end, keep on watching. Alright, so I'm just placing my frontal on my mannequin head and pinning it in place so it doesn't move while I'm sewing. Now when you're starting your wig, you want the hairline of the frontal to sit just a little bit below where the front of the cap sits. Make sure your frontal lays flat on your mannequin head so that while you're sewing you don't get any lumps or bumps or anything. Now I'm just going to flat twist the hair and clip it out of my way so I can begin sewing. Now when you're sewing down your frontal, make sure that you're sewing through the fabric of the cap, not through the elastic of the headband. In a second, you'll see me pull the fabric up with my needle as I'm sewing through the frontal. So when I come to the end, what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick the needle halfway through the frontal and I'm going to take that piece of thread and wrap it around the needle about 3 or 4 times, and what that's going to do is that's going to create a knot. And just for extra security, to make sure that the ends of the frontal aren't lifting or it doesn't come loose or anything, I'm going to tie a couple more knots on top of that one. Now onto the bundles. This hair is really full, so I'm going to double up my track so that I can use up as much of the hair as I can. So when I start my tracks, I sew through the weft, maybe for the first 1 or 2 stitches, and then after that I'll sew around it. Now when I get to the end of the cap, I'm going to flip the track over and fold it down and sew around the track so that it lays flat. Here I'll show you what I mean again when I say I flip the track over and fold it down. Now this is a personal preference. I don't like to sew through the actual stitching of the cap itself because I feel like that's where it stretches over your head, so it needs the most mobility. So I personally wouldn't want to sew through it. I kind of skip that little area and sew next to it, if that makes sense. And here's a better view of how I tie my knots at the end of a track or when I'm almost out of thread. Okay, so I have come to the last part of the wig. This is about the section of about where the crown of the head sits. So right now I'm going to start cutting my tracks, and instead of sewing in circles, well, in a horseshoe shape the way I was through the rest of the wig, now I'm going to start laying them flat, and it's going to go in straight lines all the way down to the front. Alright, so let me get back to work. Now we come to the very last track, and I'm just marrying the track and the end of the frontal, meaning I'm sewing the track itself to the back of the frontal as flat as I can. So now that I'm done sewing, I'm just going to cut off the extra piece of fabric that's sitting underneath the frontal. Since this video is already kind of long, I sewed in the elastic band off camera, but let me know if you guys want me to show you how to do that in a separate video. And this is the finished product, you guys. Thank you so much for watching. Like I said at the beginning, like this video and leave me some comments down below if you want to see how I lay my wigs down. Thanks so much for watching, you guys. Really appreciate it. Love your support, and I'll catch you all in my next one. Bye.